This keyboard doesn't have an option for no numeric keypad. That's too bad. Whoops. I wanted to copy that. No, I don't want the New York government thing. I want to copy this text. Copy. What? This thing won't let me copy that text. I want to know what's going on with these switches.
Hey guys, welcome to IVK. Today I want to get you guys a little bit about this Corsair keyboard. This is the Silver Speed from Cherry. And a lot of people have been wondering, is this better than the Kailh switches from HyperX Alloy? And in my opinion, it's very similar. Though the short travel distances, the linear keys, how smooth it is, the sound, everything about this and the Kailh Silver Speed are similar, except for the Kailh Silver Speed is a little bit cheaper in price. So this is something definitely that you guys can check out on your own. Corsair.
What a not very informative. He could have just said one sentence. One sentence. I guess it's a keyboard site, but one of the things at the top is Star Wars. It's a Star Wars keyboard. All right, I guess that's how they got their business started. I don't know. I don't know if these are better or not. Not going to worry about it. How's it going out there, people? What is the word? That is not the word of the day as far as I'm concerned. Although I guess everybody can have their own word of the day. I guess that's allowed. It's allowed. Okay, so I've been thinking, what do I want to do for water stuff? And what I'm going to be doing today is not really the actual pixel shader part of making water look good, but we want to start you know, so we've got this shader that has some normal map or displacement map for you know, to generate the wave effect. And you want to see that wave effect better later on. So like right now, we've just got these like lighter blue pixels for where the rivers are going. But we eventually want that to be a highly graphical wave effect in some way, right? So, and what that also means is that when things happen, we want that to look good. So like if I drop these rocks into the water, right now we generate, so these ugly rectangles with some particles on top are all temporary. But like, if you're really doing cool water stuff, you actually want to see a lot more happening there. Like, you want to see, you know, maybe waves radiating outward from where the thing splashes in. When a river is hitting the land somewhere, you maybe want to see a river endpoint, you know, like maybe the water is just splashing apart there and diffusing, right? So I want to just start making these things happen. I'm not going to be necessarily making them look good yet. So like maybe right now when we drop a rock in the water, we're just going to make an outward radiating circle that we draw. And right now it's just going to be maybe a solid color. But the point of it is that later on we can, you know, draw that into an off-screen water buffer that's used to compute wave positions. And then these waves will be additive and whatever else, you know. And similarly, so these little rectangular wave fronts that you see here, those guys, we'll probably replace those with something more turbulent to represent like, oh, the front and the back of this wave are sort of moving and so forth. In a way like you can imagine water just rushing forward in a, I don't know, some, you know, like that, some kind of way. Just do Navier-Stokes calculations in real time. What a great idea, except that the gameplay water physics of this game are not like water physics in actual real life water. So that would be an issue. Other stuff is making this look weird, like you'll notice when I slow down the game's simulation speed, the shader that's doing the scrolling of the water doesn't actually slow down. I'm not going to worry about that today, probably, but it is something that we will want to deal with. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm going to want to think about the best way to do this, but okay. I want to just do a very basic We drop a rock in the water, and I want to make a splash from that. So right now we play a sound, but I want to splash. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we're going to go to level flow here. I know I've used the word splash somewhere. Evaluate splash. That's in falling now. That's why, because I moved it there a while ago. Splash. Perform splash. Okay. We're gonna always make a big splash for everybody, no matter what falls in the water, and then later we could make it a beefier splash if it's a rock and a smaller splash if it's like a monster or a character or something. Right? Okay. We're going to say make a splash ring at. So the question is, how many entity types? You know, you always, if we're going to add a bunch of new things, it's like, are they all the same effect or are they different effects? I never did this thing that I wrote on my piece of paper about clean up, add animation to whatever from the last stream. We still have to do that. But we're not going to do that until after we do some water stuff. Okay, so the effects we want to do ring splash. We want to do water hitting rock or land. And those are two fundamentally different things. Like a ring splash is a temporary effect that goes away, whereas water hitting the land stays there unless the water in that square gets diverted. So I kind of feel never get recorded, and one for things that do get recorded. Do I tend to limit how big any single source file can be? No, I don't. Although in practice, things don't get that much bigger than 10,000 lines usually in one file, just because it starts getting hard to think about beyond that length. Or it starts, you know, it just starts getting harder to find things a little bit, you know, for whatever reason. 14,000 lines maybe is where it starts getting really, like when it gets to 10,000 lines, it's just because it's in the 5 digits, you notice that, but I think it's really around 13,000, 14,000 lines that it gets weird. Okay, well, we're just going to say, actually, let's go ahead and do it. Let's say magnitude is 1.0 if e.entity type is equal to rock, case rock, magnitude equals 3, case rover. Those are going to be even beefier. I don't really want to bother thinking about all the entity types right now. A light. I just want to get the major ones. Okay. So we make a splash ring at, okay, magnitude. That is going to say it's been so long since I've done this. I don't remember what, yeah, okay. So we're going to say splash is make. We're going to call it temporary splash, because that's what it is. Or temporary water splash. Temporary water splash at pause. I guess we're not going to set it to invisible, but we're also not going to set a mesh. These are going to get rendered as special time. They're not going to get rendered with the rest of the entities, because the whole point is they get drawn into a special buffer in a special way. Of course, right now they won't, but that's the point. Okay, so we make a temporary water splash, and I think that takes care of everything. We don't really add it to proximity grid right now. And that's it. Oh, splash dot magnitude is magnitude. We need to say what this is. Right, so let's put it next to flow updater. We're going to say temporary water splash. It's a new kind of entity. And version 1. And we're never going to save this, though, hopefully. So magnitude is 1. In undo, should ignore entity. We don't do sounds, we don't do particle sources, and we don't do temporary water splash. Okay. All right. Well, nothing is going to happen because we don't draw these. Let's zoom in on our camera. We can actually verify that this works, though. Let's bring ourselves in closer again. And the way we can verify is the following way. If I do this, and I do this, oh, well, we've got those question mark meshes. So when things are unknown, I'm hitting Control-Alt-Shift-G to load the gameplay state of this level. It's got these. These are temporary water splash. So I guess we will set them to be invisible. I think that's fine for now. I didn't realize we were drawing this. So this mesh is like, it's like a question mark. It's kind of backwards because of its current orientation, but you see what I'm saying. Okay, so we're making that. There is no public repo for this. No, there is not. There is not a public repo for this. Okay. So, yeah, let's set it invisible. What is that flag? I think this is called invisible. And we're going to need, in the entity, we're going to want I mean, we're going to want like a thickness scale and an alpha color, but thickness scale is 1.0. Actually, that's way too big by default. Actually, okay, that'll be a scale. Yeah, it's a scale, but we'll have a constant that we multiply that by. We're going to have to alpha mask it and stuff. So we're going to need time. We're going to need an elapse time and duration. We're just going to leave duration at 1.5. So we're going to use that to mask it in and out. It'll be masked in real fast and masked out real not fast, probably. Okay, and then draw ocean. Draw temporary splashes manager offset. Okay. Okay. Center is splash dot position. I think I call it vec3. All right. So thickness is O.1 times splash dot thickness scale. Alpha is 1.0. If fade in time is O.07, fade out time is well, 1.0. If fade out time is greater than splash dot duration minus fade in time, then it's equal to that. Just in case we like randomly generate these, you don't want to generate something that goes too far. Okay, so we're going to put computation of alpha in here. And we're going to say we want that to be not equal to 0. T is splash.elapsed divided duration. All right. So if t is less than fade in time, alpha is t divided by fade in time. Else if t is greater than or equal to slash dot duration minus fade out time, alpha equals 1 minus wait, this is time. These are time. Okay, it's not, yeah. So if t is greater than or equal to the duration minus fade out time, then alpha equals, well, let's do it this way. Let's say it's I always get confused by this one. You could do splash dot duration minus t divided by splash dot duration minus fade out time, right? That'll be 0, or that'll be 1 when t equals fade out time, and 0 when no, it won't be 0. Bro, I'm getting confused. It'll be 0 when t is the duration, which is exactly what we want. And it'll be 1 when t is equal to fade out time. That's not right. Let's just do it straight without trying to shortcut it. So t minus slash dot duration minus fade out time divided by fade out time, right? So here we're saying, okay, the left end point is the duration minus the fade out time. Subtract that from t, that's how much t is past that. It's just I wanted to shortcut it in my brain so I didn't have to do this, but this is just what you do. Am I even using elapsed? Well, I'm not incrementing it yet. We have to go do that. We haven't done that yet. This is just for rendering. We don't want to increment elapsed in this loop because we're going to call this multiple times per frame. So if you increase the simulation time in here, then bad things will happen because you'll render this different numbers of times on different levels. Okay. Yeah. So we clamp the alpha and we're just going to say, I kind of want the thickness to get a little bigger over time. Maybe not. Maybe not. Anyway, okay. Let's do this. Because you know what? I wanted this. I wanted to say t is 5 radians. That's what I want t to mean. So like that. Okay. So then we want 2 radii, right? So we're going to say and we want to define the speed. Let's just say 1.3 squares per second, whatever. So R0 is speed times elapsed. R1 is R0 plus thickness. And yeah, so num samples is going to be like 200, I don't know. So 0 num samples, theta 0 is tau divided by theta 1, no, d theta is num samples with tau divided by that. This would divide by 0. That's no good. Theta 0 is d theta times I. Theta 1 is theta 0 plus d theta. Okay. V0 is center plus R0. Let's say V0A. Center plus R0. Let's just break it down. So dir 0 is going to be cosine theta 0, or V3. Sine theta 0, 0, right? Okay, and then dir 1. We're doing redundant computation here because we're going to iterate, and you know, whatever our theta 1 is, our theta 0 is going to be the next time around the loop. And so we're doing redundant sine and cosine. Whatever, we can factor that out later. I totally don't care right now. So then, let's just say PA is center plus dir 0 times R0. PB, PC, PD. Plus is R1, dir 1 times, so we're going around a quad. And then we'll say, draw the quads. Immediate begin, immediate flush, and immediate draw quad. What color is it? Well, the color is going to be kind of a cyan color. I guess maybe more like that. And then color.w is alpha. Well, I can just do that. And these are not 0, 1, 2, 3. I call these A, B, C, D. Temporary splash. I done screwed up again. I need to fix this problem. This is real bad. Oh, that's not the problem. I actually messed it up. It's called temporary water splash. You know what? Of course a splash is a water splash in this game. What else do you think it is? A blood splash? Elasped. I keep saying elasped. Alright. Okay, why is our lighting so messed up all of a sudden? Like, I guess we need a light probe on the level or something. I don't know. Okay, well, we're not really drawing the temporary water splashes. Oh, because we're not incrementing elapsed yet. That's a flow updater. That's a temporary splash. So what happens if we set this? Hey, look, you could see the circle. We didn't clear the texture, so it's got like a wave texture, but if I see the circle, see that? It's what happens when you write shit that works the first time, bro. Except for clearing the texture. That might be fine, actually. Nah. We'll clear it. Okay. So let's, in our sim step, we want to increase elapsed and kill these if they run out of time. So let's do that. Splash.elapsed plus equals dt if splash.elapsed is greater than or equal to splash.duration, then we kill it. So the thing is, do we have it to destroy? The problem is, I don't think that it's legal to destroy something while we're iterating over this. So the idiom that I usually have for that is this thing. Right, and then that, which is not great, but it's also not bad. Okay, let's fix that shader thing. Set shader. Oh, it wasn't in falling, it was in draw ocean. I wonder I'm not finding what I'm searching for. So we're going to set the shader to ARGB in texture. Early out, so we don't have to set the shader. I don't know what the hell that was about. Not passing the offset. Oh, right. I Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to do this. Wait, why are you setting your diffuse texture to ocean map? Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay. Okay, whatever. We're just going to do this. Going to do all this. And we're gonna all right. So then we have the option of putting a texture on it later if we want. Okay, well, it's not centered. Oh, because it's, see, we're not putting it at z equals 0. And our alpha is exactly wrong for some reason. Our alpha is 1 minus what it should be. So I take back what I said about it working the first time. Okay. So let's we're just going to put that at the water level. Do I have a variable for water z? I don't think so. Okay. So we draw the splash at z equals 0. That'll make it centered around the thing. Our alpha is I don't see how this is wrong. It must be just this one that's wrong. Yeah. Just that one. Okay. So we've got this standard thing where with the alpha, like, see how it's staying solid for a long time and then fading out really fast? That's because we're rendering in like light linear space. So we're going to say alpha times equals alpha temporary compensate for a light linear back buffer. Just say rendering. For the final effect, this will need to change. It's probably going to be linear again for the final effect, but for now, we're just doing this. There we go. Anyway, so the whole point is, instead of just being a solid colored circle, that'll go into some wave generation buffer, you know. Of course, now that I've done that, I'm like, I kind of want waves to bounce off the land and stuff. One thing at a time. So like one thing I could do is for the middle stone there, like, okay, so one thing that's not great about what I've done already is that if I put a stone like over here next to this very skinny place, we're going to get a wave that like goes through, right? Oh, we actually, so we're drawing these through solid objects, which we shouldn't do right now. So that shader, ARGB, and texture that I picked, is not meant for drawing world stuff. So what do we have? I mean, we could use the ocean shader, but let's see. You know what? I guess since we're setting the texture to white, it might do the, I don't even know. What? Okay, hold on. Let me just comment this out. What do we do when we're setting the ocean shader? We're just going to try this. I don't know what that's going to look like. It doesn't matter that much, but I want it to be visible enough that I at least know what the hell's going on. Okay, well, I couldn't see that at all. That's a disaster. Maybe I can just like, maybe I can just abuse OpenGL and do like, use some GL enables like this. Like, technically you shouldn't be doing that, but technically this is not what we're going to ship, so. All right, well, for some reason, we're getting Z fighting under the land. I don't know why. All right. Let's put, Oh, let's put it at flow update. Ocean geometry Z. Oh. 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 That's the variable I was looking for. So the tops of those cubes are pretty much exactly at z equals 0, which is why we were z fighting with them. And we're drawing the ocean geometry a little bit below that. There we go. So now see, you see the wave on the other side of the thing, whereas ideally you would not see that. There are definitely ways, things that we could do to mask that off. And the question is, do I do that right now, or do I just say this is like step one? Why for those rocks up there, like up here, when these rocks fall in, I'm seeing the thing through them, which is weird. Why are they always over the rocks? Even the one down there. I don't know. Is it because we draw the rocks later? That doesn't make sense. That would have the opposite result. Frame rate looks like it cripples when the blocks hit the water. Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? It might be due to all the particles. Let's see. So if we move, so it could be that these particle systems are super slow to render just because they're dumb. Let's try what happens when we have the same number of blocks but in different places and they don't disturb the water. Then, yeah, the frame rate doesn't really die. But we're also not getting our circles, which means our shader state is messed up. I'm sure they're still there. Yeah, they're there. Temporary splash. We're just not drawing them correctly because there's a state leak problem. I don't fucking know. It's not my rendering system. Even if it was, I wouldn't be surprised to have this kind of problem. It's just the kind of problem that you have. Probably too many samples. Yeah. So see, the problem is I don't want to whip out RenderDoc and get into all that because it's probably a really dumb problem and it's just annoying enough to have to do that. Well, let's look at what we do. Oh, I bet someone only calls draw flow update. Yeah. Who call? I bet we're just not calling it. Yep. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Yep. Going to do the same thing. Just parallel construction right there. Bam. All right. That doesn't explain why they cover the rocks. But you know what? I'm not even going to debug that because the thing is, we're totally going to be drawing it to a completely different buffer later. So whatever bug is causing it to draw over the rocks is not even worth fixing because this is simply not how this is going to get drawn later. Stuff like the splash going through the land, I think we'll build a system later for detecting wave occlusion so that that doesn't happen. But that's not important right now. So I'm not going to worry about it for a long time because that only really is going to happen on a minority of levels. And you could imagine, like, you could imagine some kind of thing where you, when we undo, we don't delete all those. We got to do that. Like if I undo in the middle, those circles should go away. But see how there's the three together there? You could imagine how that maybe should be more like a single ellipsoid wave. So we could do post-processing on it to do that kind of a thing maybe. But that's all for later. Like we just want to get to an initial point where the water looks good. And that is not necessarily going to be as easy as you would think. All right, when we undo, all right. So now, if I undo in the middle of that, they go away. Great. it seems like a way too thin of a wave, right? Should be a thicker wave. Like if I... Oh, we don't make one when I teleport myself in. That's a drag. We'll do that later. So like here especially... Oh God, this is a totally different... So we're drawing the ocean with a separate shader here, and that's probably why we don't see it here. I imagine. It's probably... It's either a shader state leak or... Well, let's just see what happens. If I do this, I'm going to delete this. You don't see it at all. What the hell? It's there. Temporary splash. So now at this point, I'm tempted to try and fix whatever the rendered state leak is that's causing it not to be drawn. Because like if it, a minor thing like, oh, I can see it through the rock, that's not that big of a deal, but like, oh, it's not happening at all, that's a bigger deal. But then there's all these issues I was talking about yesterday about, I don't know how much of this is because they're just not frickin' using the same shader as me. Like, I really don't see anything there. I don't know, man. Maybe it is time to do render doc. Let's see if we could make that happen. Do I even have it installed? Let's... Can I just run it like this? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So okay, 6, bling, bling, bling. So I'm going to push this, and then I'm going to hit the print screen button. All right. We got a render doc. Relatively late in the frame. What is this one? Draw elements 2260. What? See, I don't even know what these passes are. No idea what I'm looking at. Why are we drawing 22,000 elements? Okay. It's probably this here. It's drawing the clothing on him. Why does this not look like anything? Okay, this is some ocean thing where we blur by depth. This is font rendering, because that's the font atlas. This is us drawing text in the corner and whatever. Okay, I think it has to do with we called draw ocean at the wrong time, because this special ocean shader does like a post pass. So I'm just going to write down that we need to fix that. Although, so if we're in Mirror Isles, and I cheat, I hella cheat. Whoops. We want, no. How does this go? This goes first. And then that goes. And then that goes. Yeah, see, my flow updaters don't draw either on this shader. So none of that is just visible. So it's not a new problem. So I'm just going to work on this in my own frickin' thing. Yeah. What am I hunting down? Okay, so here's the thing, Eric. I'm starting to add gameplay code that is not meant to look good yet, but that will help us do water special effects when we figure out the shader. So for example, and it just made me realize that other stuff, let me go to here. So this is the old water shader, except of course it doesn't really look like what it used to look like, but it's still, this is still the ocean shader, right? And on this one, these effects that I do show up. So now I'm doing these circular splashes, and those would like be drawn into the water buffer with whatever normal map or whatever, right? There's other things like that that have been here for a while. So just the Reader's Digest version is like that. Doesn't appear in the new shader, I think because it's just structured differently and stuff happens later. But so here, for example, too, see, under these particle systems, there's these rectangles that are like, that's the flow updater rectangle that's going to be, when I do a better version of it, like how we put more waves into the wave buffer or whatever. And those also don't show up in the new ocean shader, again, because I'm just drawing them to the screen. It's not necessarily, it's not really bad because this isn't the real version of it either. It's just that I can't work on these except in old ocean shader levels, which again also is not necessarily bad, except it means we can't simplify the ocean shader situation right now, which seems bad. It's just like this ocean shader isn't good. We don't want to use it, but I need to use it to work right now. So that's not good. So it feels to me like we should just frickin' figure some things out and make it happen. I mean, I can certainly just continue working just on these levels and do a few more things like this. It just took me a few minutes to realize why that probably doesn't work on the new shader. Yeah, where am I rendering those into? Right now, they're just being rendered as color. So like with this ocean shader, we draw the ocean as a geometry, as a regular geometry pass. That's not completely true because it does do depth fogging, so we must commit the previous, but whatever, we draw the ocean, and then after that I draw these color rectangles and they just go on top of the ocean, right? So the new ocean shader like renders the ocean to a separate buffer and then does a blur pass with the main scene or whatever. So I think what's happening is this stuff maybe draws first, or the shader variables are not set up for it to appear at all or something. It just doesn't appear at all if you do this in the new levels. Here's the thing that I'm thinking though, and I'm going to send an email to this effect. The whole grid-based way that things are happening, or that the old shader did things, seemed like a good way to do stuff, but the more I think about it, the more maybe it's not necessary. By grid-based way, I mean the way that we have these gameplay rivers in a flow map that's a gridded texture, right? So, right now we have these situations, like you could see up at the top, the flow kind of goes at right angles and it looks really choppy. And I guess the new ocean shader runs a filtering pass on that to like smooth it out, but I'm not convinced that's the best approach because it doesn't let us like when the water is going and it hits that corner for the first time because a rock just dropped in and moves around, we might want to like dynamically change the angle of that and stuff. And it's very difficult or annoying to do that when you just got some random generic filter running behind the scenes. But then also, if you watch like as this cyan rectangle with the particles on it kind of goes around the corner, it sort of moves discontinuously because it's kind of just riding at the back of whatever grid square is being shrunk, and I can obviously do more programming to try to compensate for that, but it'll be annoying, and the reason it's annoying is because we have this grid square representation at the gameplay level. So what I'm thinking is, what if instead of the gameplay rivers being in a flow map texture, what if we just draw them as separate geometry into the ocean buffer, like as a completely separate thing? So then if there's a flow map for the background water, that's fine. But then the foreground water, we would draw, so in the same way that I'm drawing these circles, that would, so those circles would get like kind of normal mapped and then blended into whatever the ocean normal map is, or displacement map or something. In the same way that I'm doing that, maybe I would make little wavelet particles inside this whole water rectangle and just draw those and not actually draw the rectangle, right? And then you would have like coherently moving blobs that would feel, because they're coherently moving, it would feel probably better than a scrolling texture or something, They would move at slightly different rates and fade in and out at slightly different rates. And I feel like it would be more of a higher powered thing, like I was talking about. The problem is just I can't really prototype that right now, except here, right? As little colored things. You're literally doing that right now. Oh, the normal map wavelet piece thing. Can we hold off for a few days? Well, we can definitely hold off for a few days in terms of trying to make it look good. Like, it wasn't my goal today to make it look good. And even when it comes to something like trying to get these guys to be less jumpy as they go around a corner, that's probably a big change, so I probably shouldn't try to do that. But there are little things that I can do, like, when you drop a rock in the water, like up here in the middle of these, where's my cursor? We don't get a cursor in these modes. Anyway, in the middle of those three stones where the water kind of bounces off, it's like, I think I just like to make a little wave generator object that just sits there in place and makes like the turbulence where the water bounces off the rock. And that's something that the gameplay code has to make and has to know exists and has to like remove if that water gets diverted later and is no longer in that square, right? So that's all CPU level gameplay code. And then how that looks is a shader thing, right? So I can definitely, without knowing what the shader is like, I can definitely do the initial steps of the gameplay code thing. If that makes sense, or does that seem bad? Fluid sim buffer to handle. See, I'm not totally convinced about fluid sim. Like maybe it'll look awesome. I'm not sure that's the right way to, we'll do the experiment and we'll see what happens. What I'm thinking of is not really fluid sim and more just like kind of like particles, but specifically programmed for water and specifically programmed for the fact that they just go in a line or whatever, or along these curves. But I guess like if you had a general fluid sim buffer, you could use that for all these background waves as well. And that might look better. I'm just scared of like doing that for real is probably a lot of CPU. I don't know. Okay. Well, okay, so that's definitely worth doing. So we'll do that. We'll see how it looks. I will do these gameplay things. And we'll see what happens, I guess. Oh, so I didn't answer the email yet about the clamping thing. But I suspect we don't really need ocean clamping to work, because I think we just zoom the camera in enough and make the ocean grid big enough that you don't ever see the edge. I think that's the correct approach. I can imagine some cases in which that would get hairy, but we might not ever have those cases. So as long as wrapping works, it's good. Like wrapping right now is not totally perfect, but it's good enough for a long time. So we're good there. In terms of the has to do with the gameplay buffer map being so big compared to the used portion of it. Is that about wrapping or clamping? Anyway, clamping. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't think we need to clamp. Like, we do rely on clamping currently for some things to look good, but I think we just change those things and we're fine. Because, you know, like if we use the grid to store ripples going outward, then if you kind of clamp, you would see the ripples die or become straight at a certain... It's just not, I don't think it's something we want to do. So I think we want to save that work and not bother. With regard to the thing about custom ocean geometry squares, I mean, I'm not that thrilled about that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess the reason that's there is so you can vertex paint it, right? Let's... Yeah, I mean, you know, even for a level like this, I think we would just expand the ocean to the right so that whatever's happening here on the... I guess it's all counting that as a grid line or something. I don't know. Whatever's happening there on the right, we would just expand. So with this... I mean, is that what's happening? Like, ocean... Yeah, the ocean stops there. So if we just go dink, 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 dink. Yeah. And that takes a little bit more memory. Like, if the map gets really big, this gets scary. But we already have to handle a map the size of Skipping Stones, which is way bigger than any of these little pipsqueak maps. So we're fine with regard to that. Yeah, you know, Fluid Sim might be... I was just saying, I don't know if Fluid Sim's necessary, but I also was talking about what happens, like, if we go back to... If we go back to this, I was also talking about, look, I'm making this circle in here, and then you can kind of see it going through the thin piece of land, and like I would have to manually mask that, or with the 3 stones going in, the circles, you know, you would expect to see more of an ellipsoidal wave as opposed to pure circles like that. But like if we had a Fluid Sim, it would probably do that for us. So then instead of rendering a circle like I'm doing right now, I would just, whatever the in-memory Fluid Sim buffer is, oh, well, it probably would be something that the shader does in a texture. So yeah, we would just render a perturbation into that buffer, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. You just inject pressure into the gameplay buffer. Yeah. So that would then, like, if that works, if that part of Fluid Sim works, then it'd probably look a lot better than what you would get just by like doing these circular things and trying to manually compensate for like, oh, there's land nearby and whatever. So yeah, maybe that's the right way to do it. You know what would be dope too is like, I mean, you can do this pretty easily in shaders these days, but if we use like whatever, if we get a displacement on the ocean or something, right? If that's the output of the Fluid Sim, like if we use that to offset the Z value so that the waves are kind of like right now, if you look at like the place where the waves meet the land is, it's actually not a straight line. I guess you're doing that already. Or is that the grid line? Oh, that's the foam buffer? I don't know. It looks like maybe you're doing that already and it's just a small amount. Yeah, it's not a straight line. You can have particles sample the fluid flow map and have them follow the currents. Yeah, so here's the thing. I think that's probably good for background particles. And the reason I say that is just because with background particles, you don't need them to be in any specific place at any specific density in order for people to see something and understand it. Whereas like if we try to do this moving piece of river by like injecting particles into the flow map and whatever, unless it's a lot of particles, we run a danger of, particles just leaving some area of the river, and then it looks like there's not necessarily anything there, But I guess we just try it and we see what happens, I mean, we can always, since we know where the active part of the river is, we can always just inject extra particles there all the time or something. Background ambient particles, yeah. Yeah, background stuff, I think for sure that'll be good for, because you'll just get a richness from it, right? Yeah. Came here from the Siege Games host. What are we making here? We're talking about, we're talking about how to make the water in this game look real nice, and there are many dimensions to that. There's a shader dimension. There's a pixel shader dimension. There's a like part of the shaders which is using the GPU as a general computational machine. So, for example, doing Fluid Sim on the GPU. Right. The other reason not to rely on that for foreground stuff like the rivers is, if this runs on a slower game console, we probably have to down-res the Fluid Sim, as we were talking about, right? And then you don't want to lose definition on your foreground things. Anyway, there's that aspect. There's the gameplay code aspect of making things happen. So we're just talking through all these things. Like, sometimes in game development, you don't exactly know. Like we don't exactly know what to do right now to make the best looking water. And it's, as we were saying in a meeting the other day, it's not really something that we can copy from other games, because most games have relatively non-interactive water, whereas this is a very specific, like there's grid-based water that has to be very well defined and move in certain ways and also look good. And then the rest of the background water has to look good, and you're manipulating it. It's just different. And And so, we're tossing around some ideas and we're going to see what actually works. And sometimes that's the most interesting part of game development because, you're doing something you haven't quite done before. It's how you learn new stuff and expand scope of what you do. So that's all good. I actually kind of... Let's go to here. I actually kind of like... Well, I mean, here the water is tuned super reflective, which maybe... I did that. It's my fault. Yeah, I don't know. These are all just a little bit different in terms of coloring and whatnot. I was just thinking, like on this level, I actually really like how you could just sort of barely see the stuff that's going down into the water. But that's true on those other levels too, but it's true for slightly different reasons because the shader is different, but yeah. See where the fluid stuff gets. Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll take a look at fluid sim stuff. In the meantime, I'll just be doing this gameplay event kind of thing, right? So I'm going to make some object that represents, like, here's an edge in the grid where the water is bouncing off something. And then we'll, use that to inject pressure into the fluid sim or whatever. Or maybe just some disturbances like that might be small enough that you don't really want very much pressure in the fluid sim and more just like direct render some things. We'll see. Anywho, I'm going to keep doing that. But, yeah. It'd be cool if we could perceive different depth of the water, like some parts darker, or even see some underwater parts. So here's the thing, the dirty secrets of making video games. We decided that it's better to make the water opaque, partially for gameplay reasons, because then it doesn't feel that mysterious when you drown in it. Because, it's this weird fiction where it needs to be exactly the depth where stones go in and are held up and you can walk on them. But if you go in, you drown, which doesn't make that much sense unless it's just a very silty, quicksandy bottom that stones put enough pressure on to not fall through. So there's that. But then also, just in terms of modeling all the levels, if we have to put a huge amount of detail into making sure all the little island bits meet the ocean floor in a way that doesn't look bad, that increases the amount of work required a great deal. And so, but we want to have mysterious stuff in the ocean as part of like environmental storytelling. So we're going to have, areas that you can see into, but in general, the ocean is going to be mostly opaque. That's what we decided on. It's kind of weird, but, sometimes the best decisions in games are kind of weird. Wouldn't the water have to follow some kind of pathfinding in this kind of grid system to be proper? Well, I'm not aware of water that intelligently picks a goal and then navigates around obstacles to that goal. That's not really how water works. What's going on here is that there's some gameplay rules that that are well defined about how water travels through the grid, and they're not exactly the real world rules of water. but they're what's up. What are those wild-looking wave things? They are wild-looking wave things. They're sort of the front and back of this perpetually moving little flow segment that we have here. Okay, so I'm going to get a drink, and then we're going to look at making right, we made a temporary splash just now, and that's what those circles are. And then we're going to make a thing called maybe not permanent splash, but like whatever the word for it would be, turbulent point, water blockage. I don't know. I'm going to think about for a minute what it would be called. And, whenever the river hits a rock, we're going to have one of those. And we're going to see how that goes. What kind of drink do I usually get on a Saturday evening? I have a variety of drinks. Follow the path of least resistance. Well, I mean, it's like all ocean water. Like if you just let the water do real world water stuff, then you wouldn't have puzzle gameplay, right? So this is a puzzle game. It works in its own particular way. That's just how video games are, like when you're what's a good example? Everything in video games is like that, honestly. Like you don't if you try too hard to make your game realistic, it probably becomes a bad game. That's a good general rule. What about some boat floating around? We have that. We have there's a boat right there. What a nice boat. Actually, there's an even better boat. Whoops, turn on the sheet. There's a better boat over here. Spoilers. Spoilers. Oh, you didn't see that. Okay. Let me get a drink and we will continue. Oh, let me before I forget, I want to revert that level where I deleted the ocean floor because people aren't going to like me for that. You're irritated by the water flow being blocked by the triple stones. Well, I understand that, but part of probably what we're going to do is make that more plausible, right? We're going to make it look like so right now when it gets blocked, it looks like the river stays just as strong as it was and it's just like blocked somehow, right? But we're probably going to make it just sort of look like it's dying off in that case and diffusing out, right? So we'll do something a little better for you, but we got to get there step by step. The weird outside map flow nastiness. Okay, right on. Like I said, though, I still think we just want the ocean to be big enough that we couldn't ever see that anyway, but hey. Okay. Me get drink. Back in a sec. Oops. Yeah, you'd want the fluid sim to tile is what I was saying. Which is probably easy. Like if it's a shader thing, it's probably easy to make it tile. Because probably if it's a fluid sim that samples from a texture, it's like got a bunch of if statements about what happens when we hit the edge of the texture, and for tiling you would just remove those. I imagine, but I am not seeing whatever code you're using, so. I need some way to send a param to the shader to know whether it's a tiled map or not. I started doing that, but I think I didn't check it in. Anyway, that's very easy, right? It's just, there'll just be a variable in the ocean shader. No biggie. When do I expect this game to be finished? I don't know. Maybe next year. I hope so. I don't want to work on it forever. I want to get it to where it's good and release it. You adding support to send detailed data to the shader already directly? Yeah, we already have a material system that is somewhat generic. It's like not. It's not as banana cakes as something from Unity or Unreal, but it's it gives us the capability to relatively straightforwardly define some variables in a shader that you can send parameters through, and it's not hard coded. Unlike our previous games, which were all hard coded. When will I join Valve and make Half-Life 3? Valve ain't really the kind of company I want to work at, I'm sorry to say. It's just not how it is. Any future plans after this game? Yes, but I cannot say what they are. There are certainly future plans. All right, see you later, Eric. Yeah, I would definitely, even so, if we get the fluid sim going and plugged in, like, even if we end up not, whether we use a fluid sim or not, like whatever the back end to that is, that we're making the actual waves appear on the screen, if we just have a way that I can like put stuff into that, then we can get rid of this old ocean shader and stuff, and it'll be good. And even if it's just ugly, and as long as you can see what's happening, it's good enough for now, See you, man. Can you ride the boats? Well, I could tell you, but it would be a spoiler. Do the boats leave a wake when they move? Well, they don't currently. If they were to move, do I think it's better to have minimal syntax highlighting? Um, I don't know that I would call this minimal. It's certainly not excessive. Do you, when your syntax highlighting looks like angry fruit salad, how do you feel that that helps you in any way? Can I show what the entity manager looks like? It's a bunch of things. Are there fish in the game? There probably will be, but there are not right now. What are the thoughts about physics in the engine? Well, there's not ever going to be physics that affects gameplay. So like the fluid sim stuff that we're talking about is cosmetic only. I doubt that we would do much else in the way of cosmetic physics just because, you know, we want to ship the game and not rat hole on weird stuff. But, you know, the probability is not zero. Usually, usually if we want to add motion and flair to a scene, we might do what am I trying to say? Just animated objects, you know, like fluttering flags and moving birds and whatever else. I want a cookie now. That's what I just decided. Good thing I have cookies. They are whole wheat cookies, so they're healthy. You find colors help to faster differentiate different types of symbols and tokens. Well, I know that's the idea, but does it actually do that? Let me put it this way. If that actually were true, then when you read a novel, wouldn't now that we have good printing technology, wouldn't people make like nouns one color and verbs another color and adjectives another color and proper names a totally different color? Or does that not actually help you read? You know what I'm saying? It does sound like a Danielewski book, or however you say his name. That's true. House of Leaves did have a small amount of syntax highlighting. It's true. I'm not saying that prose and program code are the same thing. I'm saying, do you find prose hard to read, or do you read it automatically? And if you read it automatically, why is code that different unless you're somehow intentionally making your code cryptic? That's what I'm saying. If you think House of Leaves is crazy, you should have seen Wired Magazine back in the 90s when it started, or Mondo 2000 maybe was even worse. Does that mean physics are going to be implemented for cutscenes, or are you going to completely ignore physics? I think it's going to be mostly animations, just because this isn't really a physics kind of game, you know. These cookies are all right. let me put it this way. In computers generally, like across all of programming, almost every habit that people do or way of doing things that they say that you should adopt, almost none of that is actually based on evidence and data. And what little is, that evidence and data is not remotely as rigorous as it is in many of the sciences that are having replication crises right now, okay? So I fully understand when you say like, oh, the angry fruit salad highlighting is so that I can read my code better, right? But what I'm saying is like, okay, we all know that that's why it's supposedly a thing. Does it actually do that? Has anybody ever attempted to measure that? I'm sure some people have. Have most of the people with angry fruit salad highlighting ever even bothered to look at any studies about it, right? And assess whether those are replicable studies or not, right? Like if colors like that really help, then some colors ought to help more and other colors ought to help less. How do you know which? Right? I'm just trying to say it's all superstition, basically, right? Everybody adopts their thing because they want to believe that it's the better thing, and it's not really evidence-based. None of it is. And the sooner you realize that, then something. Now, some people are saying, well, I like it when things are highlit in a certain way because it's just aesthetically pleasing. I have no problem with that at all. Like, in fact, these colors right here they're just a little bit harsh and ugly. And the main reason is because I never put that much work into highlighting for this language. But yeah, like if you just like it and you like the way it looks, that is something that you're a fully competent judge of what you like, right? So that's great. What I doubt is when people claim that it makes you program better in some way. Apart from, well, if you like the way something looks, maybe you just feel a little bit nicer whenever you program. That could make you program better. But like, you know, because my if statement is a different color from my numeric constant, I can program better. I don't really believe that. I'm sorry, I just don't. How many of these things that are superstitious become crutches that make coders lazy? Well, I mean, almost every programmer in the world today can't actually program that well, so I'm not sure. Laziness is sort of part of it, but there's just deep issues. I'm not sure that it has to do with syntax highlighting. Like the real issues are much deeper. Much deeper. Okay, let's do some work. How do you be a good programmer if there are so few? Well, it's a long story. Let's get some programming done again. Whoops. Whoops. So we were going to make a new entity type for a longer term splash. I'm just going to call it a turbulence. These are going to get saved in the undo buffer. And I think we're not really going to have any parameters right now. Because everything we need is already going to be on it. We're going to set the angle of it based on when things get blocked. It's gonna always assume that it's a rectangle on the grid square along the x-axis, and if you rotate it by 90 degrees, it'll be along the y-axis, and so forth. Standing wave, oh maybe. Standing wave is a very specific thing, though. This is not really that. Is it the industries that have to push the boundaries of equipment by necessity, the ones to take example from? I wouldn't make a statement that broad. You certainly can learn things from those people, for sure. For sure. I don't know. Okay. So we're going to have this thing called a turbulence, and we're just going to draw those. Right. Same way. Actually, we are going to want some parameters because we're going to want these to come and go smoothly. So we're going to have alpha, which is going to start at 0, and we're going to have killed, which is going to be false. So what's going to happen is when we sim these forward, alpha is going to go up to 1 very rapidly if it's not killed. And then once it is killed, alpha is going to go down from 1 back towards 0. And when it reaches 0, it'll go away. So let's do that. Right? For all the turbulences, right? If t dot killed, else whatever. Let's call it dying, because killed implies it's done being killed. If it's dying out, then we do something. Otherwise, t dot alpha is less than 1, t dot alpha plus equals dt times 4 or 3 okay. Can't type. Okay, so that's fine. If it's dying, then we do some stuff, and then we say if it's less than or equal to 0, array add to destroy t. Okay. T dot alpha minus equals dt times I don't know, 1.1. We're going to, you know, all these hard-coded things, we could put them into variables, like hot loadable variables later. But for now, we're just like, you know, yeah. Okay. Well, we're not creating these yet, and we're not drawing them. And we don't have a function to draw them, so let's do that. This should be draw turbulences if we're being good, because those other ones are plural, and we don't need to do that because we do that in the caller. So just going to do this, draw turbulences. Draw the ambulances, please. Turbulence, okay. P P0. Okay. How do we do this? Object to world space t comma v3 1 minus whatever the half width is 0 0. So it's like along the x-axis, but y equals 0. P1 is 1 plus w. P2 so it's going to straddle the x-axis, right? Okay. We're going to do that. We're going to immediate flush. And okay, we set the shader, we do all the things. I kind of feel like, oh, we need to define W. It's going to be kind of thick. THICC. Oh, we need the color. T dot alpha. Uh-oh. Our error report is in the totally wrong place. Okay. We're probably not going to ship the game in GL. It's just what we're using right now. Okay. So we're not creating any of these turbulences in gameplay code right now, but I should be able to make one and see it in the editor. However, I am not currently seeing it in the editor. don't see anything moving around, so it's not like it's drawing it in the wrong place. Well, we have one. We have a turbulence. Oh, maybe the sim. There we go. There we go. Why is it? Oh, right. Because 0 is the middle, so we need y from minus 0.5 to 0.5. And yeah, okay. We got to change our coordinates a little bit. All right. All right. Yeah. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Okay. Okay, so now that is aligned on the grid square, right? And I could make new ones. I could go here and I could like rotate it and so forth. So that's fine. So the next step is when I block water, I want to make a turbulence. In the right way. So here, when these fall in, I want to make them bake them. Is replacing it with DirectX trivial? No, it's a lot of work. Switching rendering APIs in general is a lot of work. Okay. So when we make these turbulences, where would we do that? Ocean. Okay, so here's where we make a flow updater. We're going to divert I don't remember. So we're diverting the flow coming into a position from a direction. When we do that, okay, that'll be in like maybe divert. T is make, manager turbulence, neighbor pause, but we want to rotate it Is divert direction orthogonal? No. No, it isn't. Okay. I actually don't know if I can just set theta current and theta target or if I have to set the orientation. Okay, I guess I just set these. We'll see. Theta is atan 2 delta dot y delta dot x times tau over 360. All right. Okay, well, it's a little bit wrong. I actually kind of don't really know what happened. It's like we're making some. Oh, we got to set the z value again. That's why it's so confusing. That's why it's so confusing. Okay. All right. So now it's just like totally rotated the wrong way. And there's too many of them. Like what? I'm basically doing this at the wrong time. All right. Oh yeah, I remember. This is all bananas. Okay, I actually want to do it out here. Is not called delta. I think it's incoming dir. It might be dir and not incoming dir. Oh, geez. Let's just do it up here. Get direction vector. All right. Okay, that's still wrong. Kind of don't know why it's so wrong. Wait, it's like... Hold on. Yeah. I think we just have to set the orientation manually, right? Let's just say, what happens when I set it to 180 manually? I think, well, we'll find out. Yeah. Okay, so that doesn't... Why is that 180? What is going on? Why is the x-axis not... Why the fuck is this 270? What? Oh, because this level is sideways. Right? Yeah, okay, okay. Ha ha, I was so confused, but it's correct. Okay, great. Yeah, great. Great, so, so wait, what happens? So it actually is using this theta, I believe, was my conclusion. But it's still not right in terms of what we need. Now it's 0. Always. Oh, right. That's actually... We actually want this. Yeah. Let's make this invisible so we don't see the mesh handle anymore. I've drank so many tea today. So many teas, or so much tea. Boom. It's still wrong. How is it so wrong? What the hell is going on? I changed it to what should have been the opposite. Okay, wait. Let me just do this again. I know this is gonna work, but I'm just going crazy. Sometimes when you're going crazy, you just have to do something. Yep. Okay, so it's using the theta value. It's confusing enough what happens here. So divert incoming flow into the position. Yeah, that. Something like that. You know, I don't know. I still don't know. Okay, one of them's right. Oh, the other one. See, we have a weird thing with the 3 stone case. We have a really weird thing going on where it depends. Like these stones all land in the same order during the frame, and so that one that's between the 2 stones. Well, it's not right no matter what, but it would at least when we finish our programming, it's going to go away because when we kill water in that square, it would go away. Actually, for both of these, that's true. I frankly don't understand why this is so hard for me to understand. It's like, yeah. Okay, divert incoming flow gets called with pause being the position where the stone is. Okay. We get the ocean info of where the stone is. Do we even use that? Way down there. So that we can see if it's flowing in the same direction as us or not. So I'm not understanding this down here. Because we're never setting target dot direction. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, I get that. I get it. Alright. I don't understand why this would go there, but if the neighbor's direction is equal to the target direction, dude, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what my code does. Oh, remove theta equals 90. Yeah, how about if we remove that? That's a good idea. How about hey, look, it doesn't work. Totally. Now the other one is right and that one is wrong. Like what? Okay. We're just going to step through this because I don't really understand why it's such a problem. Although, okay. So for both of these, theta is coming out 0. That doesn't make sense. Okay, you know what? Okay, let's first of all, we actually, right now I'm putting this in the position of the rock. But we really want to put it in the neighbor position because it represents the flow of the neighbor. So let's first of all do that. Neighbor pause, right? And so this is still not going to fix the problem. It's just I'm putting it in the place in the ocean and that I want it to be. I don't think it'll fix the problem. Who knows? Yeah, now it's totally effed. What? Now it's 0 every time. Why is it 0? It's 0 because I hope somebody caught this. Like, seriously? That's when you need units. That's why I was so confused. It was outside the boundaries of what my feeble human brain considered possible. Look. Look upon ye all and despair, for I am Ozymandias. But if I used Rust, I'm sure that that wouldn't have happened. All right. So I think we're going to want to make another one for when the water hits a rock and ends, but first order of business before that is to set the killed flag on these guys. So when we clear out ocean water from a square, we want to set the dying flag on these, because otherwise they'll stick around forever. So when we set ocean info, okay, if there's no ocean present, we're gonna go find type at. I think that's a thing I can do. Find type at. Okay, so we actually want to get all turbulences. At that position, because there could be more than one, especially representing different directions. And find type at only gives me one. All right. Where is that? Maybe I can just do a loop. Find at position. I think this will weed out. Oh, it's in proximity grid. Like if it's destroyed, yeah, okay. So while true, oh no, we can't do that because it won't be destroyed. Never mind. Find at position. Manager proximity grid. Okay, find at position, pause. Okay. Oh, query, pause is pause, query, pause.z0, just to make sure. And results is a whatever of star entity. Results dot allocator is temp. For results, if it dot entity type is not equal to turbulence, continue. It dot dying equals true. That's all we wanted to do. Dying is not a member of entity. Oh. Okay. What determines if the water should split in a specific direction? Why not both? It's just what the rules were of the game that we inherited. It always prefers going to the right unless it can't, and then it goes left. That's just how it is. Okay, it didn't do it. Or well, here's turbulence. Dying is not set. Why didn't it do it? I wanted it to. Maybe we're not calling set ocean info there. Let's look. stop flow. Okay. Oh, it's not ocean present. It's flow, dummy. There's still water there, it's just not flowing. Okay. Boom. And come on. What's happening? Did it compile? I guess. Well, we're just gonna... I mean, the problem is if we set a breakpoint here, we'll hit it a lot of times for naught, because as that ocean flow is moving, we would run this code on a lot of squares. I wonder if it's being... Okay, instead of find type at, we're going to do it a different way anyway. Because this is maybe not the best, or find at position. So for manager by type dot turbulence, if it dying continue, if it's already dying, don't do anything. If distance it dot position query pause variable 0.5 continue. So we're not actually using memory for an array. All right. Let's do it that way. Because the spatial query might be saying like, oh, it's invisible, or it's not a gameplay object, or, you know, something. Let's just see if that was the issue. Yeah! See that? It went away. We got to square our alpha again. Yeah, boy. In Germany, it's late over there. All right. Boom. Boom, ba boom, boom. Boom. Boom, look at that. Someday that'll be an actual thing. Right now it's just a rectangle. See you later. Someday that'll be a thing. Let's delete the one of these that's static in the level. We don't need that. All right. Okay, let's chill out on these particles since they're killing our frame rate. Like, it's probably a lot of particles. I should make a particle count. It doesn't look like that many, but maybe it is. Oh, it is debug build anyway. That's more chill. It'll be less bananas. Well, okay. So now, whatever we do at this position, whether it's inputting pressure into a thinger or what, I don't know. But we have the gameplay object. Yeah, you know, I think any further work that I do on this water stuff kind of depends on what is the back end representation, because what I would do next is I would start, you know, these rectangle things that I'm drawing, I would start making them nicer. But if making them nicer means just like inject pressure into a fluid sim, that's very different from, you know, start drawing some individually tracked particles and whatnot. So this just might be enough for today, I think. I could go into the maps right now and put some here, except that they won't render, so maybe it's not worth it. Let's make the map a little bigger on this one. Boop, 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 boop. We probably also want to make it bigger on the left and move everybody and all this. Let me just, wait, what? What? Why isn't that working? Bro. They're not probably correctly resizing their maps. If I load it again. What the hell's going on? If I restart the game, this is what happens when you let other people work on your game. Like, why? Oh, yeah. I mean, I suppose it could be my problem in some way. This, I don't think so, though. Okay, here's what I think is happening, is somebody has a hard-coded buffer size that's set for the biggest thing, and this is bigger than that. I think, you know, when they make the texture for like, here's how we do this, they made it for the biggest map, which is this one. And we need it to be bigger. So for example, here, if I'm on the left edge of the map, I need at least like 4 more squares there. So I would say it needs to be at least +8 more in each direction. Ugh, that looks awful. It's related to the wrapping junk. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I feel like I was just saying, there's like a maximum buffer size. And we just need to add like 8 in each direction to that. Because I wanted to, you know, I wanted to get rid of some of these artifacts. You know, like just by expanding the ocean. And if the maximum size is set to be the size of this level, I just can't do that right now. Which I would like to do. Any little victory is a moral victory sometimes. I thought you were leaving, man. You know what really annoys you? The really subtle slowdown, speeding up of the flow animation for each new tile. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing that we're going to be changing. This is not final. This is not remotely final. You got sucked into the fluid sim dev. Dude, it's the weekend, okay? Go do something. I'm sure there's something great to do in Spokane at February 23rd. At night. 24th. It's not the 24th. All right. Yeah, so I think maybe this is the max of how far I want to take this right now. We can obviously do more stuff, but there's already code for other stuff. So like, hey, if we had a fluid sim, when I kick the rock, it could make little wake waves, but we already make splash particles in the proper squares. And so it would not be a very big change to put wake waves in, and I think that would depend very heavily on the underlying representation, so I'm not going to mess with that. That kind of a thing. Fix that map edge thing. Oh, okay. Should I do an update? Let's see. Let's see what happens. Updates. I should commit the things that I was working on too before I. All right. Commit. Stuff for in place water turbulence in gameplay code. Okay. Okay. So we updated. And looks like it's fixed. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to make, I already just made us 2 bigger in each direction. So I'm going to go 6 more. Uh-oh. We're going past the grid, but that's okay. And then I'm going to move us 4 each. I'm going to do this. Hope nobody's editing this level this weekend. All right. Oh God. Okay, the paint didn't move. Is the paint in world space? Can we like not move it? I don't understand. This is not good. This is not good. We need to fix this because this is going to break the whole game. The paint has to be movable with everything else. It has to be like, I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding what's happening, but it looks to me like if I move this, the paint doesn't move. Wait, that's not on. Okay, hold on. That's just on this. Is there something I can edit to change that? Nothing in this level is painted. Well, it could be light mapping? Question mark? But it sure looks like a projected texture, doesn't it? It looks like the material has a texture that's projected in world space coordinates onto the islands. I don't think that doesn't look like light map to me. It's really like, I bet I can do this. Oh wait, I guess, yeah. There's no light map there, right? There's a projection coming from somewhere. Color map. Diffuse only. Isn't that what color map means? Or color map, yeah. Yep. I bet if we look at this material, there's something funny. Island grid temp. That seems like a very custom situation. I don't know. Maybe you know what that is. Select the world map icon near the sailor. Water shore. That's what you meant? Projection offset. Didn't do anything. Click update. Well, it's a debug build, so whatever it's doing will take a lot longer right now than it would in a regular release build, which is what people usually use when they're editing the game. That said, this is taking a while. Move the island, so the map needs to be regenerated. That's fine, but it's affecting... I don't understand how the map shore texture is making the other stuff blue, but maybe that's just what happens. Is that an automatic way of coloring the islands when they're underwater so that you don't have to do it manually? Is that what that is? Not sure I understand why this takes so long. Okay, we're going to kill this and run release builds. Generates a blurred single image where the islands are. So we can use the gradient around them to generate the ripples. Okay. I mean, I understand that. I just don't understand the other part. Let's try this again. We need to make startup time faster, frankly. All right. So I'm here. I'm here. Where were we? I don't think I saved. Maybe I did. I don't know. No. So 6 in the vertical, 6 in the horizontal. I'm going to select all and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. So then we're going to select this thinger. We're going to say update. Yeah, I think it doesn't work. What I don't understand is why the color on the islands is wrong. Oh, there we go. Okay, well, it generated a pretty wrong looking result. And the color on the islands is still wrong. All right, the game is now first person. It's now a flight sim where you fly over the islands and try not to hit the rocks. Island color as a result of a tint map. Well, I guess what I'm saying here is we're going to be wanting to do this basic operation a lot to a lot of the levels. And if it's this hard, we got to change that. Maybe we've got to hook all of these different things up to one offset tool or something. Tint. Hey, it's Lana. Hey, what's up, people? 41 new people. I'm sorry, we're not making a game about interfering in other people's lives with lockpicks and stuff, but it'd be cool if we were. You can open the material panel and set the tint map offsets. I still think I should not save this no matter what. I don't see tint map offsets anywhere. Just textures. Edit material file. Well, that's not how that works for me, I guess. But yeah, so what I think, for the ocean panel here, since we already have these buttons, maybe we either just have a little button that says push this, and then these will move everything in the world, including the tint map offset and the, all entities. It would be a very heavyweight thing, but you could just press these and it would be fine. That's all. This is pretty. No, it's not. It's all messed up. Let's go to some things that are less messed up. This is less messed up. It's not done, but that's less messed up. You might have seen that before. I was probably working on these last time you dropped by. Yeah. So this is totally amazing looking right here. That's the best. Maybe for the rest of tonight. So a lot of these, what's my unlock? Is it Shift F2? A lot of these screenshots are old. Like, look at those. And right now, I think there's a command that just regenerates the screenshots for one of these areas. But like, there's like 15 of these areas now or something. So I kind of just want to make a command that does it for everything in the game, and whatnot. This looks like Halo for some reason. It's like the crystals and the purple. We're going to get the Halo license. You mean it's gross? Okay. I agree. It's gross. All right, Eric. See you later. Yeah. We'll, so on Monday we can talk and I'll figure out what the tint map thing is, and I can program that ocean mover widget thingamabobber, because it's been on my mental list for a while to do such a thing. Okay. All right. We have so much work to do, but it's going to be a good game, man. Look at the sparkles that people added. I didn't know they added sparkles here. Get some elites in there. What are the really stupid shrimpy guys in Halo that like are the bumbling jokey guys? Those guys ruined the game for me, but they're all over the place in the early game. They're so bad. Look at that. See your reflection on the ice? It's like we're professional game developers. Look at that. How cool is that? I mean, it's not really physically correct, but never mind that. Look at that. Okay. So I'm going to revert the big mess that we just tried to make, or that we successfully just made. And then I'm going to go and we'll test to make sure my command to regenerate those bitmaps for one, I don't know one hub room. Let's call them hub rooms. Hubba rooms. For one of those, we'll make sure that still works. And then we'll make it apply to everything. Dude, I don't even know. Let's not worry about that. Let's just revert these. Okay. What is my command for bitmaps image? I never remember what the commands are called. Nexus shots. Okay. Nexus was the name for it. Not like a Google Nexus, but like a Nexus. Okay, so if we go here and I go Nexus shots, it does all this, including compressing whatever textures it needs, which is why that went slow. Okay, great. Now, those should also get hot loaded, hopefully. So if I go here, oh, no, because it doesn't put them in the right place. So because I was still paranoid, I have to go to new Nexus shots. These are all the images that it just took. And I'm going to grab these and put them, where do they go? Data, bitmaps, Nexus shots. Replace. And then we also have to like SVN add everything that's new. I don't know. I want to automate all this. Okay, none of them were new. All right, so now when I go back, it'll be regenerated, right? So here, we'll unlock and, oh, it's prettier. Look at that. Still looks pretty weird. The water coloration looks weird here, but all of this is in progress. So now I just have to make it do that for the whole game. And then we'll make it put the bitmaps in the right place. And then we'll make it check in the ones that are not old. Okay. Well, I kind of don't want to do anything. I kind of just want to be lazy and go to bed, but we'll do a little more. We'll do a little more. Okay. Well, first step is to do all of them and not just a measly few. So what does our Nexus shots command do? It says start dumping Nexus shots. Well, where's that defined? I don't even know. Developer commands. Wait. Nexus views. Okay, we're going to say do entire game is going to be false. Currently dumping entire game is do entire game. And oh, we already had a parameter here for generate all. We just didn't use it. All right, so yeah, currently dumping entire game. Okay, so update Nexus views. All right. Reset Nexus views. Oh no, these are the ones that we displayed during gameplay. That's not what we care about right now. Okay. In main, I'm looking for the part that like does this. Okay. Okay. End dumping current Nexus, right? This is all going to be in a developer guard. So end dumping current Nexus is just going to say, well, if we're currently dumping the entire game, then we advance, else stop. Okay? How do we advance? Well, we need to have set up the Nexus levels. That's going to be an array of string. We're going to say if do entire game. Collect Nexus levels into all Nexus levels. And we're going to say advance to next Nexus, or just load next, or start dumping next Nexus level, right? Same thing here. If we finished a current Nexus, we're going to do the next Nexus level, right? Okay, so what the hell does that mean? Well, if we don't have any left, then we stop. Okay, otherwise, name is pop all Nexus levels. We don't care in what order we visit these. We're going to say load. How do we load a level? Init level general. No. I don't even remember how to load a level in my own frickin' game. Load campaign for game mode. Load news campaign. Load. There's so many loads. Load entities. Load entities for in-game particles. Okay, where do we call load entities? Load entities. Okay. Get current level name. Init level gen. Okay. Init level general. Advanced level 0. We'll just do that. That's great. Current level name. Oh, geez. Okay, we have to do this whole thing. I do this during the testing, and I forgot that this is how we officially do these things. We need to make a level set, not just an array of strings. We do this in tests. Okay, we make a batch level set. Okay, here we go. We're going to say Nexus level set is a level set We're going to call this Nexus shots. Okay. And we're just going to visit everything in not advanced level. We're going to visit everything in data levels that has the word Nexus in it. And that's going to be collect Nexus levels, which is going to be here. Collect Nexus levels. We're going to say, is it called contains? If contains short name Nexus, return. We don't want it if it doesn't have the word Nexus. Is that? I'm actually not sure if that's true 100% of the time. We'll do that for now. We can use a different criterion. We're just getting on the board for now. We certainly have a lot of levels with the word nexus in them. So this will get us most of it, if not all. So we collect the levels, and then what do we do back in tests? We we do our collect. We switch to that campaign. We say restart current level. All right. So let's not destructively modify this. So when we load this, we'll say next nexus index is 0. If next nexus index is greater than or equal to nexus level set.level names.count, then we're done. Otherwise, name is nexus level set.level names sub next nexus index. We will then like all this campaign switching might be bad, but I'm wondering if the game's going to get confused with all this level loading that I'm doing everywhere. Level loading everywhere. Level loading everywhere. There's a problem with the main hub being a nexus when you program this for the first time. That is true. You're right. It doesn't have the word nexus in it. It's called overworld. So we're just going to go I don't know why I put more parentheses there, but okay. Don't need those parentheses, whatever. I'm just paranoid sometimes about if clauses. What I'm really worried about is, because I'm switching between different level sets, I'm going to switch to the Nexus level set to put us in a particular Nexus level. See, I shouldn't do it this way. Because the thing is, when I'm dumping the Nexus shots, I think we just do advanced level for everything. Yeah. See, we want to load the level set that this is the nexus of, and there's actually not a convenient way to go in that direction through the data structure. Whereas if we did it where we look at all the level sets, if we go to, like, do switch to campaign, I don't know. I don't know if that'll do the right thing. I might just have to do it, but let's just see. I think that just goes to the catalog. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so I'm just going to make a new thing that's like what I just did, but slightly different. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, level set names, a lot like what we started typing, but different, is an array of string. Collect nexus levels is going to be a thing. We're going to say if contains short name draft, continue. I think that's it for now. Okay. This is not collect nexus levels. This is collect level sets. Finished. Something like that. Just call it collect level sets. Whatever. Here we're going to go back to the pop method. We're going to say if we have no level set names, we're done. Name is pop of level set names. Do switch to campaign name, and then that's it. When we're currently dumping the shots, we're not going to do this. We're going to go to data level sets, and we're going to collect into level set names. It's coming out nicer. It's coming out nicer. I tell you. So much nicer. Okay, that might even be the whole solution minus all the things that I got wrong. Can only continue from within a for loop. That's for sure. Oh, let's not forget this. Okay, I dig it. Hoo boy. Okay, first, we're going to make sure we didn't break the old version. Going to go to Nexus shots. Okay, well, that looks like that's doing the right thing. Wait, is it? No, that didn't do it for the whole game. Okay, good. So now we should be able to say true, have it go the whole game. Whoa, that was crazy looking. Okay, we got some other, like this one isn't supposed to be in there. We're crunching a bunch of textures. This might take a while because we're going to be compiling. What the hell were those? We've got an assertion failed. God damn it. So we have this error reporting thing that somebody put in that tries to send an email, and if it can't do it, it exits your program even though I ignored the assert. Like, what the fuck? Just don't send an email. Jesus. All right. Okay. So this was a known bug repro level called Overworld Crashing. See you later, Dark Sea Bass. Thanks for stopping by. All right, dude. The number of times when I just want to fire everyone in the world is a lot. Okay. I guess we don't want test level sets either. So we have drafts. I guess tests. I mean, we'll try. Let's make a release build. All right. What am I doing next is shots through. Oh, it looks a little more reasonable. Okay, we're getting fog of war everywhere. Note to self, fog of war does not get drawn. Although maybe it does. I don't know. We need to think about that. Look at all the things we have in this game, man. Some of them even look good. Kinda. I need to send a lot of emails. The light probe default is whack. I need to send an email that says everybody's fired. Okay. Okay, so we should have like hundreds of files in new Nexus shots. 458, that sounds about right. So we're going to take these. Put them here. Replace all the files that have the same name. Add anything new? How is there nothing new? Well, I guess. Oh no, there's new stuff. I don't know why that didn't work. Okay. Boom. New Nexus shots and enhance the command. What generates them? All right, boom. So now we ought to be able to go and walk around some of this stuff. We just checked in 123 megabytes of images. Good thing we don't use Git. All right, so overworld. Let's see what we got. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oops. So these are all going to be these ugly things, but when we go into some of these, we should see new things. Hey, look, it's fog. All right. So here. All right, well, we already verified that, so that's boring. What about one of these? I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just going to go through some of these and make sure that we have images for everything. Those look new. It's the newer water shader, so I think that succeeded. Okay. Right. It's all good. You just got to make the water look nicer, man. That's all. All right, I believe that this was successful. I am happy with that. How will you fix it popping out of the window? Well, so we haven't decided. So right now, you know, I'm just sort of drawing it over where the character is, but that doesn't give us very much composition control or ability to make it look nice. So one alternative we thought of is that maybe it actually draws in a fixed place on the level. Like maybe there's a place for this image screen, like sort of toward the north side of this island over here. And then whichever one of these you step on, it kind of just puts the image on that screen. Because then you can make sure that area is clear enough or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But we haven't decided that for sure. There's other things we could do. Like if we wanted it to follow the character, we could just do something in the shader to overwrite anything that was in front of it or whatnot. Okay, well, I think the thing I want to do now is that add animation to whatever that I wanted to do from the last one. Something like a little thought cloud might be neat. Yeah, we haven't decided. We just haven't decided what it is for sure, which is why you haven't seen me do something more definitive there. Why am I hiccuping? You do something, things like this that discourage you from software game dev. You do something cool, but it has knock-on effects that you didn't think of when starting it. You have to figure out how to fix or make better. That is completely true. That's 100% of video game development, what you just said. But it's also what makes it interesting, you know? Like, you have to learn to be fascinated by system complexity. And then you'll be happy with it. You know? Okay. I said in the last stream that I was going to fix this. That at least these were going to be okay. We're just going to do this. We're going to say S is get animation state E. This is a little bit slower. Okay. Oh, yeah. And then when I say add animation player, this needs to get cleared out a bit. Like, what? Why are we calling that? I don't think we want to call that. I think we want to do the same thing we do here. Oh boy. Yeah. We're asking for a little trouble here, but I want to clean this up a little. Like, we don't need any of that. Alright. It'll be good to simplify that code. Uh-oh. I broke it. I knew it would happen. Well, we'll just figure out where that's happening from. Oh, because I deleted add animation player from this. Okay, so one of these has like birds on it that are animated. I want to make sure those still work. Where's the birds? Where's the birds? As I said, there's some birds. Yep, they're animating. They're animating. Little birds are doing their bird stuff. That's good. All right. Look at all the birds. Okay. So that's great. These birds are not very active. We need to fix them at some point. I think that's, I mean, I still could clean this up. The thing is, we're in set mesh and add animation player calls set mesh for some reason. And I'm like, what? If that's true, I sort of feel like we shouldn't have a recursion case here, but it's late at night and I don't want to start thinking about something like this when I might break it. So I'm going to make a note. Add animation player. Shouldn't call set mesh. We only want this to go in one direction from set mesh to add animation player, not the other way around. Oh, this is a different set mesh. Duh. Okay, the set mesh in this file sets the mesh on an entity. This one sets it on an animation player. This is fine. This is fine. This is actually not recursive. It just works. Note, this is not the set mesh in this file. It's on the animation player. Bro. All right. I think we're done for the night. Are there any questions? Clean up setting of animation. Do people have las preguntas? When you finish a game, what makes you more happy, that other people like it or that you like it? That I like it definitely is much more important to me. I mean, it's good when other people like it, but it also feels very disconnected. Hey, I've got to think that we're done sometime. You know? Maybe you should have showed up when I wasn't ending the stream, maybe. I just tore my cookie package. Thanks everybody for coming by. We streamed for a good 6 hours today. That's not nothing. Casey's still streaming. Oh, let's raid Casey. Is he? Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Thanks everybody for coming by, and we'll probably program some more tomorrow.